I'm super excited to have April Palmer with me. This is going to be so much fun.
Terrifying. It's gonna be terrifying. Look, I already have like little horns growing out of my hair already. So
You're good. You look great. That's what lives are supposed to be, like real and like just, I'm in my hoodie. It's raining outside. We might get snow.
I just ran from one meeting to this one, and this is what you get. And I love that about lives, actually. So
I do too. So I did something a little different this time. I wrote down all the questions, so like they'll be ticking at the bottom, so like people can, see it if they're coming later on. So where did I want to start? Okay. It doesn't look like anyone's with us yet, I don't think, because it says 0 people. But if you guys are joining, comment.
It hasn't been showing the people, like the viewers, even though there are people there, which is kind of weird. I use Restream for mine too, so I think there might just be like a thing.
It's just delayed. So if you're here, just comment.
Yes. Tell us you're here.
Tell us you're here. Yes. All right. This is my first question. What do you love about what you do?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, can we first establish what I do, because it's so many things, and then we'll go. Okay. So my main gig is I work for a company called Duckbill Group, and we're consultants to help people lower their cloud costs on their AWS bills. So we negotiate contracts for them and things. I also am a professor of entrepreneurship and venture creation and product innovation at VCU Da Vinci Center, which is like my heart's work. And then I occasionally take on a consulting client. I do a lot of mentorship and things in the community. And I think the thing that I love the most about what I do is I tend to switch careers and industries on a fairly regular cadence. And so every time I do it, there's this huge opportunity to learn things that I didn't know. Like when I went into the automotive industry, the joke was I didn't know my chassis from my assy, and like so true, right? And so what I love is that I get to bring all of my experience in these different industries and different jobs into what I'm doing today and create new ways of thinking about things in industries where like maybe we're lagging a little behind with change and innovation, those types of things.
That's a nice way to say it. I love it. Well, and so I forgot to prepare everyone, and I think we already talked about this. The whole goal of this show is to do 7 questions in 7 minutes, so I feel like we're on a good track. And then it could go into 15 minutes depending on what we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my next question. How would your grandma describe what you do?
My grandma used to call me Madam President. She really thought that I could change the world. In fact, this is in my LinkedIn bio. Like my grandma called me Madam President, and I insisted my whole life that I was ungovernable. And in fact, I am. And so like I'm not joining the government, I'm just being ungovernable. I think my grandma would say that I'm out like making people feel good about their ability to achieve their goals and their place in the world, which is great because that's also my heart's work. And why I do what I do and why I spend so much time trying to support my community is because you'll never see me walk across a stage and like win some massive award. Probably not, because that's not necessarily my goal. But for me, one of the things that I love the most about everything that I do is that I get to watch other people succeed, and I get to be like, oh, I had a hand in that. I helped them. Oh, like I gave them that advice and look where it took them. And so I love being just like an ameliorator of people and ideas. And I think my grandma would say that that's what I'm doing. I think she would see that, and that makes me really happy.
Aw, I love that.
My grandma, I mean, I got to meet all of my grandparents and almost all my great grandparents. But my grandma Gray, who's my mom's mom, was like my person, right? Like we all have that kind of special person, and that's who she was. So it's nice for me to be able to think about. I've never really thought about that, but it's nice for me to be able to think about that and be like, I think she would know what's up.
Oh, I think so too. And I believe that they, people that pass, they I don't know how to describe it, but they're like in our lives without like in a different like wave frequency. Is that the right way to say
Yeah,
it?
they're there. Even if we're thinking about them. My grandma used to tell me, like she used to have this thing written and I loved it and we would talk about it and it said, you can choose to be the light or the mirror that reflects it. And that's something that I think about all the time. Whenever like I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I get to be the mirror that reflects other people's greatness today.
Mhm.
And that's a really exciting person to be, right? Like,
So
that's
exciting.
awesome.
Totally. That's freaking awesome. And I think that just having that special your grandma, that made you feel that way or said that to you, like, and you still hold on to that. That's very special. And I
Yeah.
think you're totally fulfilling it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, what's the next question? Okay. What's something that not very many people know about you?
Um, Gosh, this is a really hard one because I'm a pretty open book. Like I talk about a lot of things. But one thing, being an open book and showing up authentically, for me, it means being able to talk about things I'm going through, whether they're amazing things or really hard things. But
Mhm.
one thing that I think people don't realize is that when I am in the middle of something that's really hard for me, like in the last 2 years, I left a 10-year relationship with the person who's like my big love, right? But just because
Mhm.
they're your big love doesn't mean you're compatible with them. I moved 5 times in 1 year. I ruptured my Achilles tendon and my talar ligament, and I had some other issues. So in 13 months, I had 3 surgeries.
Wow.
I got fired from a company that I had been working for almost completely for equity for 18 months, and they stole my equity. Um,
Wow.
and then I had to find a new job. Like I've had a really rough 2 years, and there are parts of that I just have to, like, I call it turtling. I kind of have to like go into my shell and deal with that before I can talk about it. And so I
Mhm.
think people often think that me being an open book, like you kind of know everything that's happening in my life at any given time.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, yes. But a lot of times I'm just dealing with shit and like I'm just dealing with it. And then when it's over, then I'll tell you everything, right? But I can't talk about it and deal with it at the same time.
Oh,
And
that makes complete sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think people kind of get surprised by that because when they see me talking about things, they feel like that I probably feel like I overshare, right? But like they're like, "Oh, you have no secrets." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, no, but you don't get my secrets that are happening right now. I'll give
Mhm.
them to you in a year when I've processed them and figured it out myself."
Oh yeah, I see that because I think when I'm like trying to create content and stuff, I'm reflecting on what's going on now, but it's also kind of hard to share because I'm still going through it. So it's like you got to share it later after you've processed some things. So that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm weirdly a very private person about the things that I'm going through at the moment. But then once I
Yeah.
process them, like I truly believe that sometimes our story is somebody else's life jacket, right? And so I want to share those stories and I am a very open book about them, but not when I'm doing it. Because you know what? Because I don't want your fucking advice either. Like, I'm just going to do it and I'm going to do it my way. And then, wait, am I allowed to say that on this one?
You could totally say that. It's
Like,
you. It's who you
me,
are.
it's almost a requirement. So yeah, okay. So that's something that I don't really talk about myself that I think that not a lot of people know.
Oh, well, that's good to know. That's interesting. And I totally messed up the question, so hopefully you didn't see what I showed you. And this
No.
one kind of actually leads up to what you just shared. So this one is, what are some of the biggest changes you've made over the last year? So you had, not a rough last couple years, but kind of a rough
No,
last couple.
they have been hellacious. Like,
So like going through all of that, like what is one of the biggest changes you had to make like within yourself? Like, to that you had to do?
I had to stop relying on other people to hype me up and I had to become my own hype man. Like, and it's the hardest thing because I have such crippling imposter syndrome and anxiety, and I am a
Yeah.
hardcore extrovert, so I recharged by myself, and so I had kind of like gone into my shell. But I figured out that you can't make a home inside someone else, right? And so for me, I had to figure out how to be me by myself, all alone, and strong and like love that, right? Like when they say, who's your favorite person in the world? I can now say, like, me, I'm
Yeah.
amazing, right? And then everything else comes with that. But learning how to, and I've always been big about like, oh, I love myself and I like whatever. But what I didn't realize is how much I relied on outside validation
Mm.
to think that I could do things, achieve things. And I'm like a doer, right? I get shit done. I figure everything is figure outable, right? Like that's a thing for me.
Yeah.
I have that special kind of ADHD where like literally you could tell me anything. I'd be like, yeah, I could do that. Right. But I also couldn't hype myself up about doing it. I needed external validation. And I think the biggest change that I've made over the last 2 years is through lots of therapy and lots of self-reflection and a lot of time alone is figuring out how do I say the words to myself? How do I speak to myself in the same way that I speak to other people? And how do I speak to myself in the way that I want other people to speak to me to make me feel good? I can candidly, like I can look in the mirror and say, 76.95% of the time that I do a really fucking good job of it now. And I didn't before. So that's a big one for me.
That's huge. And to be able to talk about that is just very impressive to like open up and say, like I needed to stop relying on other people to hype me
Right?
up. Like
Yeah.
that's huge.
Well,
And that's
the
a change.
things that I say to people, and then I had to start saying it to myself. So y'all like use this if you want, steal it. But one thing that I say to myself when I start getting into imposter syndrome or just like getting anxious about my ability to do something or whatever
Mhm.
is I will say to myself, are you telling yourself a true story? Because I will tell myself like, oh, I can't do that, or oh, I'm bad at that because of whatever. And then I'll look at myself and be like, are you telling yourself a true story or are you telling yourself the easy story?
Okay.
Right. And so that's been a big difference for me is like I have to tell myself a true story. And sometimes that means that I do suck at things or that I fucked up or like I do something really badly or I can do something, but I shouldn't do it. Right. And
Yeah.
sometimes that means looking at myself and being like, hey, you don't get to shit on yourself right now and your abilities. You can do this and you should do it. And if you don't do it, then you're a total asshat.
You have
Like
to do
that's
it.
a conversation.
That's the conversation you have in your head. That's perfect. I do want to pause because I'm getting a couple comment about texts from people saying that they're commenting, but we can't see them. So Restream
Yeah.
might be having an issue. So that's a bummer because the comments make it so much more fun.
Wait, well, hang on a second, because I can get them on my phone.
Can you get them on your phone? Okay. I do have 3 more questions for you.
Okay, well, hang on. Okay, let's do real quick.
Okay.
Steven Apicella, like one of my favorite people. He made me
I
cry.
love him.
Oh my God, he came up to me, he said the nicest thing. Like I couldn't even come up with those nice things to say about myself. So he won that. He
Yeah,
said,
he was.
intelligent beacons of light is the best way I can describe both of us.
Oh,
He loves our unique contributions and the way we transparently share our powerful messages. So, Stephen, we love you.
yes,
You're
we do.
amazing.
You're so good with your words.
So good. Sean Armour, also like, come on, like walking sunshine. Life
Yes.
is a gift. That's why they call it a present. That's amazing. Russ Hill, hello. We love you. Charity Denning is late, but just fashionably. Tom Klein is here. Who else do we have? Ashley Callahan.
Wow.
I know, tons. So there we go. Hi, everybody. We love you. And now I'm watching comments. So
Okay, cool. And we'll finish up with the 3 questions. This one's a little bit lighter, so
okay.
it's a little more fun. What 3 superpowers would you choose to have?
Okay, number one, and this is the most mundane.
Wait, guys. I did not prepare her for this, so she's obviously thought about this.
I think about this all the time.
Okay, ready, set, go.
Okay, number one, and it's a totally mundane superpower, but if I could have the power to reread a book for the first time, I 100 that like I would do that. If I
Oh,
rubbed a genie lamp and I got 3 wishes, that would be one of the ones that I would wish
that's
for.
very interesting. Yeah.
Like not like be able to pick up. Can you imagine picking up like where the red fern grows for the first time again and like not knowing what happens in the last 2 chapters? Oh my
Oh, yeah,
God.
that would be amazing.
Yeah, that's like total mundane superpower, and that's the one that I dream of. So if anybody comes up with that technology, please, I will be your first buyer. The second one that I would have would be the ability to manipulate probability. And so, like, what that means is I could be like, oh, I need a sunshiny, warm day today. So I'm going to manipulate the probability of that happening to 100%. And then we get a sunny, beautiful day. Or, like, if I have somebody who's trying to achieve something, I can manipulate the probability to 100% that they will achieve it, and then they will, and it'd be amazing. I could even manipulate it to be like, oh, today I'm going to manipulate the probability that I learn how to fly, and like,
You learn
boom,
how to
yeah, laser eyes, all the stuff doesn't matter. And then I think my third superpower would be, I don't know. Now I come up with like ridiculous sappy things. Like I've never had anybody ask me for 3. I always had to choose between the 2. And
now choose 3.
I know, and now 3. Like I think that
It could be like
I would like to be able to like influence how peaceful people feel about themselves. I think.
oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Like
Kind of
just
help people
you're
ease.
scared, right? Like I can bring you peace and you can figure it out, or
Mhm.
whatever it is. I don't know. But give something back, like to be able to do something to help people be able to like be more
Yeah.
at peace with themselves and their environment. I don't know if that's a great answer because I just like, but the other 2 for sure.
That was what you thought about. The last one you didn't think about. And I think that's actually really cool because like some people talk about like pain and like going through pain or all of that, and I honestly, not that I necessarily like pain, but I think it's good to have pain because that's how we grow and that's how we
Right.
become better.
Right.
But
If you
learning
can be
how
at
to let
peace
go.
with like, if you can be at peace with the process around it, right? Like,
Yeah,
okay, I don't have as much angst around the fact that I'm going through a hard time right now and I'm learning some lessons that are going to follow me forever, or I'm going through this growth period. There's a that I know now I'm going over my see, I did so well for
we're
the first
way over.
I know we're so way over. So there's this, just Google it because I'm not going to talk about it. It was basically there's this
Okay.
YouTube video of this rabbi and he's talking about how lobster, like how you grow through discomfort, and he uses lobsters as an example, and it's amazing. So just Google like rabbi talks about lobsters, and it's a fantastic story. Okay, I'm ready for the
Okay,
next.
I love that. Okay. What qualities do you admire most in others?
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't have to
I
be, it could be one thing. It doesn't have to be a bunch of things.
I like people who strive to be good humans, right? Like we don't have to agree on things. We don't have to have the same viewpoints or experiences. But when I see people who are using the information and resources that they have at hand to be the best human that they can be on any given day, then that to me is like the thing. I've raised my kids. We have a couple of rules in our house. One is if there's a fire, like get the kids and the dogs and cats out, right? The second is
Yeah.
we don't say the word but, B-U-T-T, because I hate it. Say ass, but not but with 2 T's. And the third rule, like third and fourth, are be contributing members of society and don't be an asshole. Like those are literally the rules that I raise my kids with. We don't have any other rules and we haven't. So I think just being good humans.
I love that. I think that's a good thing to admire in people. And, I think most of us want to be good humans.
I think so. Like if you look around, we just all do it in different ways, right? And that's something to be celebrated. So,
Absolutely. All right. Last question.
okay.
What is your word for the year? Just one word.
Ebullience. I
Oh,
know it's a
no.
weird one.
What does
It's
it mean?
it to me is like it's like when somebody's ebullient, they're just like overflowing with joy and wonder at the world and what's going on. And I think I spent the last 2 years going through phases where I could really, really enjoy the world, and then other times when I had to turtle. And now I this year I want to focus on living so much in the moment and being overflowing with joy about it. So I gave one of my friends an example a couple of weeks ago when we were in Dallas. I was like, I'm the type of person where I go to the same coffee shop every morning and I get hot chocolate made with whole milk and heavy cream, and whipped cream on top, right? And every single morning I take a drink and I'm like, this is the best cup of hot chocolate I have ever had in my life. And then the next day when I go, I take a drink. I'm like, oh my God, this is the best cup of hot chocolate I've ever had in my life. And every single day, and that's kind of how I want to approach every problem, every interaction, every opportunity, is like just overflowing with joy at the fact that I get to do it. I get to experience it. Even if it's sadness, right? Like I'm one of those people where if I get sad, I set a timer. This is for real, y'all. So you can make fun of me all you want, but I set a timer, and however big the problem is, right? So like to say it's a medium problem, I set a timer for 20 minutes, and I give myself permission to be the saddest person you have ever seen on the planet. Like I will ugly cry. I do the like, and yes, I snort when I cry, and like my nose runs and all the stuff. And when the timer goes off, I'm like, okay, I'm done being the saddest person. And if I need to be sad again tomorrow about the thing, I have another 20 minutes to be like the saddest person. But like for me, that's almost like an ebullient embracing of the feelings, the emotions that I'm having, and like kind of being excited that I get to go through those things and just feel them all the way.
Yeah. It's important to feel them all the way. And I do like that you set a timer, because sometimes I think a lot of people feel bad for feeling bad. Like we're like, why aren't we happy? We have a really good life. Like everything's going good, but I'm just upset about this one thing.
Yeah. And I think that if you can have permission to feel really sad or really angry or really disappointed, but also like really happy. I think we have on the opposite side of things, people are like, they tone down their happiness and their joy because it has to fit into some like standard or whatever. And if you see me, like I was just at the boxing gym this weekend with some people, and literally in between rounds, like we're doing our thing, I'm like laughing hysterically while I'm like, this is so much fun, I'm punching, right? And then in between it, everybody's taking a rest, I'm like jumping around and I'm singing, and I'm annoying as fuck, right? But I am having so much fun being happy about the fact that I am there. And I think that if we have to tone down our sadness, we feel like we have to tone down our happiness. And I'm fucking done with that. I will be the happiest person, and I will be the saddest person, and I will just be like really, really here, just here in the moment. And that's okay.
Perfect. Be here now. Reminds me of that one song.
Love that.
Yeah, it's by Nako. It's kind of a chill, like hippie music, but it's called Be Here Now. So
yeah,
I feel like that should be your like anthem for the year.
I love it. I'm doing it. Maybe that's my next tattoo.
Yeah.
Well, my next tattoo, no joke, is you're on mute. So when I'm on Zoom calls and somebody starts talking on mute, I can just hold my wrist up and it will say you're on mute.
You should do that. I love it. Do you want to look see if there's any questions or comments?
Yeah, I'm looking right now. I think I have to close out my LinkedIn app because I'm not sure that I updated them. So hang on a second. Okay.
Yeah, because that was all the questions. So I want to make sure people get to ask you stuff if they want to. It seems like I've been going to 30 minutes, so it's good.
I know. Steven Abasella says there's no way to bottle up April in a fast 7. We're all grateful for the extended 7 today. So, all right.
I'm going to take 7 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's like, that's all right. I like the fast 7, though. I like the idea of it. Ashley says you have to have ups and downs like a heartbeat. Don't want to flatline. Oh, my God. That is amazing, Ashley. You, my second favorite person outside of Kaylee, obviously, because she's doing this. Tom Klein says he loves to give yourself permission to be sad for 20 minutes, like that idea. That's awesome. Charity thinks we're a great duo, which we are. And Charity, we love you. Third superpower, Sean Armour says the third superpower is that not what you do already? And all right, I can see that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, everybody's just in there just saying really nice things about us. So like, keep it up, y'all. Just keep up coming. Spend the rest of the afternoon just saying really nice shit about us. I'm here for it. And Kaylee is too. It's great. Be our hype people and we'll be your hype people.
Exactly. I think what I started last time was I opened it up to let my guest ask me a question. If you have a question you want to ask me a question, because you're in the hot seat, so you can put me in the hot seat. Just one though.
All right, just one question. Well, I mean, there's really no question about what I'll ask here, which is, what is your most successful fuck up that you've ever done in your life?
My most successful. I would have to say my going into real estate. Because it wasn't very successful. I didn't do that great of a job. I sold a couple of houses, but it wasn't like what I thought. But because I messed that up, I got to come back to Parts Edge and have more of this marketing and sales background, which allowed me to completely open up. I had like free range to kind of just try and do whatever I wanted to make it work. And that's what I've done.
See, there you go. Yay. Isn't that a fun thing to think about, is like those moments in your life that you fucked up that take you to the next part of your journey, that now you look back and you're like, oh my God, like what would my life be like if I didn't have this? And what would our lives be like if we didn't have you doing what you do? Because you bring so much joy to everyone you like come in contact with, that I would be really, really sad if you had, stayed in the, I mean, I wouldn't know obviously, but I think somewhere in my mind, I would know that there's a universe that's missing you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Oh, there's one.
Chris, hey, Chris.
I love how it's Chris. He's like, oh yeah, I know you guys.
Yeah, I love it.
Chris is like the only one showing up on the comments, which there are so many. Chris does lives for you, right? Does he help you with your lives? Yes.
Yeah, he doesn't just help me. He does all of it. So he runs he was like, I can coach you or I can do it for you. And I was like, oh, like take my money. And it is amazing.
Yes.
He does all of it. Like he does my intro, outro videos. He manages comments for me. He does the scheduling. It is absolutely, and like, talk about a good human, right?
Oh, totally. Great human.
Chris spends all of his time just, I think, finding ways to help his community be better and do better and be more successful. And like, come on, what's not to love about that?
He's such a great human. And I love how he has a duck on the back in his office, like just chilling.
Yeah. Has he ever showed you his trophy that we sent him?
No.
So we've got kind of this best girlfriends group that we all met on LinkedIn. And then we've slowly but surely let some guys into the inner circle, and Chris is one of them. And we had kind of started this idea of like a marketing business, and he was the first follow on LinkedIn for the marketing company called Manifest Marketing. And yeah, so we sent him a trophy that was like, it was a unicorn trophy, and it says like first follower.
I love it. That's so fun. Now, Chris, you need to post that picture like with your trophy.
Yeah, show us your trophy, Chris.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's it for the show. I asked you some great questions, and if anyone missed it, they can watch it on the replay. But this was so much fun.
And pop in, y'all, if your team replay or if we didn't see your comment, because whatever, like we'll both go through and we will answer questions. So if you have questions that you want answered, that Kaylee didn't ask, like answer them. I am an open book. And so I'll tell you whatever you want to know.
Awesome. Yeah, let's go through the comments. And Restream didn't show them except for Chris. Chris is the only one showing up.
He's special.
He's special. All right. Thank you for coming on.